You know what the funniest joke in this world is? A kind man. Yeah, that guy. The one who listens. The one who forgives. The one who waits. The one who shows up every time, even after being forgotten. The one who helps even when his own world is collapsing. The one who stays silent just to keep peace. You know who I'm talking about. You. And guess what the world does to kind men like you? It spits on them. It tests their limits. It pokes the wounds they try so hard to heal. The world treats kindness like it's weakness, like you're some doormat that people can wipe their filth on. And the saddest part? You let them. You're sitting there thinking if you stay patient enough, if you love hard enough, if you keep doing good, they'll finally see your worth. Wake up. That's not how the world works. This ain't no fairy tale, kid. This is a cage full of wolves. And you've been walking around like a lamb in a slaughterhouse, smiling at the butcher, thinking he'll spare you if you're soft enough. Let me break it to you gently. No one's coming to save you. Not them. Not the ones you love. Not the ones you trusted. Not the ones you stood by when you were drowning. They're not reaching back. You know why? Because your kindness made you invisible, and your silence made them believe you were okay with it. You ever notice how they only call you when they need something? They disappear when you're falling apart. They laugh when you're serious. They ignore you when you cry. But oh, when you smile, they're right back, like nothing happened. That's what you created. You taught them how to treat you by never putting a stop to it. You never said enough. You never looked them in the eyes and said, "Hey, I ain't built for disrespect." And that's where the damage began. Not when they hurt you, not when they lied, but when you forgave without change, when you tolerated without consequence, when you stayed even though your soul was screaming to run. You gotta understand something, and understand it deep. Kindness doesn't mean you'll tolerate disrespect. That line, write it on your wall. Bleed it into your bones. Because if you don't start drawing lines in the dirt, people will walk all over your grave and call it a favor. This world, it doesn't care how big your heart is. It only cares how loud you roar when someone tries to break it. They only respect fire, not flowers. You can be kind. You can be soft. But the moment someone steps out of line, you burn. You walk. You leave them with silence that screams louder than every apology they never gave. You think you're being strong by taking the high road, but sometimes that road's just you dying slowly while pretending you're okay. That's not strength. That's self-destruction in a tuxedo. You want real strength? Speak up. Leave when they expect you to stay. Protect your peace like it's the only thing you've got. Because one day, it will be. You don't owe anyone an explanation for walking away from chaos. You don't owe anyone your energy if they never respected your soul. You don't owe them your time, your effort, your love. If they kept showing you, they didn't deserve it. You gave chances like candy on Halloween. You forgave things you had every right to scream about. You kept showing up for people who wouldn't even look your way when you were bleeding. That's not loyalty. That's a slow suicide. And you've been dying quietly, hoping someone would notice. But guess what? No one sees a dead man smiling. They just assume you're fine. And that's your fault. You wore pain like a second skin and called it being strong. But strength ain't about silence. Strength is about setting boundaries so loud even the deaf feel it in their chest. Let me tell you something dark, but true. People don't change out of love. They change when you stop tolerating their nonsense. You want them to act right? Stop making excuses for them. Stop begging for bare minimum. Stop settling for breadcrumbs when you deserve the whole damn table. You're not asking for too much. They're just giving too little. And the more you accept it, the more they think you're okay with it. Respect doesn't come from love. It comes from fear of losing you. And right now, they're not afraid to lose you, because you never gave them a reason to believe you'd walk. You gave them comfort, and they mistook it for weakness. You gave them chances, and they turned it into a cycle. You kept forgiving, and they kept doing the same thing over and over, because nothing ever changed. That's on you, because you stayed. You made them feel like your heart was a trash can they could dump their guilt in, and you'd still say, "It's okay, I understand." No, it's not okay. It was never okay. You were just too kind to say it. But kindness without boundaries is self-betrayal. And now you're drowning in the silence of your own tolerance, wondering why no one hears your screams. Well, they don't hear you because you've never screamed. You've smiled. You've shrugged. You've said, "I'll be fine." And they believed you. But you're not fine. You're tired. You're exhausted from carrying love that never gets returned. From answering calls that only come when they need something. From holding people down who wouldn't even lift a finger if it was your name on the line. You're breaking in places no one sees. And it's all because you confused being kind with being a doormat. You ever wonder why they keep testing you? Why they push and push, just to see how far they can go before you finally snap? It's 'cause you let them. You let them lie. And you stayed. You let them ignore you. And you showed up. You let them disrespect you. And you smiled. You gave them the blueprint on how to break you, then cried when they started construction. That ain't love, kid. That's manipulation. That's someone treating your heart like a soft target 'cause they know you won't fight back. And here you are, thinking your patience is noble, thinking your silence is strength. No. It's weakness. And they smelled it on you like blood in the water. See, people only do what you allow. That's the rule. No matter how much you love them, no matter how long you've known them, no matter what they've been through, the moment you excuse disrespect, you invite it. The moment you downplay your pain to protect someone else's comfort, you become your own enemy. And I get it. You didn't want to lose them. You didn't want to be the bad guy. So you swallowed your pride. You let the disrespect slide. You sat there, aching in silence, thinking maybe, just maybe, they'll realize what they're doing. But they didn't. And they won't. Because people don't learn from comfort. They learn from consequences. You ever met someone who only changed after losing something? That's what pain does. It educates. And you? You kept sheltering them from that lesson. You thought you were saving them, but all you did was destroy yourself in the process. That's the irony. You gave love to people who never earned it. You offered loyalty to people who played you like a joke. You gave chances to people who wouldn't give you a second glance if the tables were turned. And now, look at you. Tired, drained, doubting your own worth because of how others treated you. But it was never about you not being enough. It was always about you being too much for people who were too little. Let me explain something to you crystal clear. Kindness is a gift, a powerful one, but without standards, it becomes a curse. You want to be kind? Fine. Be kind. But set limits. Demand respect. Speak up when you're hurt. Walk away when you're disrespected. Because people don't remember the times you stayed silent to keep peace. They remember that they could get away with anything around you. That's what sticks. That's what they carry. And if you don't change that, they'll never change. They'll keep playing the same tune, and you'll keep dancing to it, bleeding from the feet, calling it loyalty. You ever seen a lion beg for validation? Number. You ever seen a storm ask permission to shake the earth? No. So why the hell are you sitting here waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to stand up for yourself? You know what's right. You feel what's wrong. You just buried your voice so deep under years of pain and people-pleasing that now you whisper when you should roar. You've made comfort out of chaos. You've made excuses for people who should have been cut off the moment they crossed the line. You've built a home out of broken promises and expected love to grow in it. But love doesn't bloom where respect is dead. Let me tell you something cold, but honest. You keep giving love to people who disrespect you. You're not kind. You're just afraid of being alone. That's the truth. You fear the silence. You fear the void. So you fill it with people who treat you like nothing, just so you won't have to face your own reflection. But that reflection, it's screaming. It's telling you, enough. Enough of chasing people who don't value you. Enough of trying to prove your worth to the unworthy. Enough of being the soft landing for people who push you off cliffs. You deserve more, but you'll never get it if you keep tolerating less. I know it hurts. I know you miss them. I know you replay every moment in your head, wondering where it all went wrong. But let me remind you, it went wrong the moment you let them think they could treat you like an option. And from there, they ran with it. Because once you tolerate disrespect, you teach them how to love you wrong. And once they learn that, they never unlearn it, unless you force them to. And forcing them doesn't mean talking, begging, explaining. No, it means leaving. It means silence. It means removing yourself completely and letting the absence teach what your presence never could. You want to be remembered? Then disappear. You want to be respected? Then stop being available to the disrespectful. You want to be loved the way you love others? Then stop loving people who don't even love themselves. Start with you. Love you. Respect you. Protect you. Because nobody else will, not if you don't show them how. And the way you do that is by drawing the line, saying no more, saying I matter, saying this heart ain't free anymore. And if that costs you people, let it. Because losing people who never valued you is not a loss. It's a blessing in disguise. You ever sit in a room full of people you once laughed with and suddenly feel like a stranger? Like the warmth vanished, and all that's left is fake smiles and cold air. That's not in your head. That's the consequence of being too kind for too long. See, when you carry people on your back, they start acting like you're the ground. They stop saying thank you. They stop checking in. And eventually, they forget you're bleeding while they're still standing. That's the kind of poison you drank. And you smiled through it. Thought it made you strong? Nah. It made you a target. You gave your soul away in pieces, thinking they'd hold them safe. Instead, they used them like coasters for their own mess. And when you finally broke down, they called you dramatic, sensitive, overthinking. Ain't that funny? The same ones who ignored your silence now call your pain an act. The same ones who benefited from your loyalty now say you're too emotional. But that's how the game goes. People love the version of you that serves them, not the version that calls them out, not the version that finally says, I'm done. Because once you start valuing yourself, the whole world starts accusing you of changing. But listen to me, change. Change so hard it scares the ones who treated you like you were easy. Change so fast they can't keep up. Change so brutally they start questioning what made you so quiet for so long. Let them ask. Let them wonder. Let them miss you when you're no longer picking up their calls. Because every time you answered out of guilt, every time you stayed out of fear, every time you accepted crumbs just to feel loved, you taught them that you could be broken and still serve. And now, it's time to unlearn that lesson. Not for them, for you. You know why people never stop disrespecting you? 'Cause they don't believe you'll ever walk away. You taught them that. Every time you forgave without accountability. Every time you laughed off the pain. Every time you said, it's okay, when it wasn't. That was you feeding the monster. That was you letting them write the story while you just stood there bleeding in the margins. But stories change. The moment the hero wakes up. The moment he drops the mask. The moment he says, I'm not your doormat, I'm not your punching bag, and I damn sure ain't your backup plan. So wake up, look around. Who's really there for you when you're not giving? Who checks on you when you go quiet? Who's still around when your hands are empty? That's your circle, not the ones who clap when you're up. Not the ones who laugh when you're laughing, but the ones who show up when the lights go out. The ones who hold you down when your world collapses. Everyone else, they were never with you. They were just near you. That's a big difference. And it takes pain to see it. Real pain. The kind that makes you question everything. The kind that makes you build walls. Not to keep love out, but to keep yourself safe from pretending again. You gave them too much. And I'm not talking about money or time. I'm talking about access. You gave them access to your heart, your loyalty, your silence, your time. And they abused it, used it, took it for granted. You know why? Because you were too available. You answered too fast. You showed up too often. You made it too easy. And people don't value easy. They don't cherish what's always there. They don't respect what never leaves. The truth is, people only learn respect when they lose comfort, when they feel your absence, when they realize they were playing with something sacred. But for that to happen, you gotta stop being scared of leaving. You think leaving makes you heartless? You think saying no makes you a bad person? Nah, let me break something real to you. You ain't a bad person for walking away from people who keep hurting you. You're not cruel for cutting off toxic family. You're not selfish for choosing your peace over their chaos. You're healing. You're protecting yourself. And if that bothers them, good, let it. Because the only people who get offended when you set boundaries are the ones who benefited from you having none. You deserve peace. You deserve to be respected. And not in a loud, aggressive, prove it to me kind of way. I'm talking about quiet respect, the kind that doesn't need reminders, the kind that's felt in the way people talk to you, the way they show up, the way they don't cross lines, even when you're not watching. But to get that, you gotta teach it. And teaching it starts with letting people face consequences, not words, not arguments, not emotional breakdowns, just absence, silence, distance. That's where growth happens. That's where they learn what you tolerated for too long. So listen close. This version of you, the broken, tired, over-giving version, that's not who you really are. That's who you became trying to survive in a world that feeds on kindness and spits out weakness, but no more. You're not that person anymore. You're not soft. You're not desperate. You're not small. You're a storm that forgot how to reign. You're a lion that forgot how to roar. But trust me, it's still in you. The fire, the fury, the part of you that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't settle. All it needs is for you to stop tolerating disrespect, in the name of love. Because real love, it never disrespects. Real love speaks softly and acts loudly. Real love shows up. Real love doesn't leave you questioning your worth. And if that ain't what you're getting, walk. Not for revenge, not to prove a point, but because your soul deserves peace more than your ego needs validation. You know what I hate most about this world? The way it punishes the ones who care. The way it pushes down the ones who reach out with both hands. You'd think being good would come back to you, right? That somehow the energy you give out would return. That if you loved hard enough, stayed loyal long enough, forgave deep enough, they'd wake up one day and say, damn, I almost lost someone rare. But no, they don't. Because people don't change when you love them more. They change when they realize you're gone. That's the cold, twisted truth nobody tells you. You think your kindness will soften them? It won't. It just makes them feel safer breaking you. You walk around giving everything and calling it love. But let me ask you something. When's the last time you were on the receiving end of that same love? When's the last time somebody held your hand just because they felt your pain without you even saying a word? When's the last time someone showed up without needing something? When's the last time you felt seen, heard, protected without having to beg for it? Yeah. Thought so. You've been giving, and all they've been doing is taking until you're a damn shell. But here's the thing. They don't even realize what they're doing. Or worse, they do, and they just don't care. And still, you stay. Why? Because you're hoping they'll change. You're hoping they'll wake up one day and love you like you deserve. That one morning they'll sit up and feel everything you felt. But that ain't how this works. People only feel your absence, not your pain. They won't see what they had until it's 6 feet deep and they're sitting alone replaying how they could have treated you better. But by then, it's too late. And I hope it is. Because if you keep going back, if you keep opening the door for people who slam it in your face, you're the one hurting you, not them. You can't keep blaming them forever. At some point, the knife stops being in their hand. It's in yours. And you're the one twisting it now. Because every time you let disrespect slide, every time you excuse their silence, every time you beg for their presence, you stab your own soul. You betray yourself. And let me tell you something nobody ever will. The worst betrayal ain't what they did to you. It's what you let continue. You saw the signs. You felt the change. But you stayed. Because your heart's too damn big for your own good. And that's the heartbreak right there. Not the loss of them. The loss of yourself, trying to keep them. So now you're sitting in this storm you never asked for. Tired, angry, hollow. And still, somewhere inside you, there's this tiny whisper that says, maybe they'll come back. Maybe they'll see me. Maybe this time it'll be different. Kill that voice. I mean it. Murder it in cold blood. Because that voice is not hope. It's self-destruction dressed as love. You don't need them to come back. You don't need an apology. You don't need closure. You need to reclaim the parts of you they took. The dignity, the pride, the peace. You need to stand the hell up, look in the mirror, and say, no more, not again. You think strength is staying? Nah. Strength is walking away when everything in you still wants to stay. Strength is saying, I love you, but I love me more. Strength is choosing peace over patterns. And right now, you got a choice. Stay broken, loyal to pain, or rise. Rise like the storm you were meant to be. Cold, silent, powerful. Because silence ain't weakness, it's discipline. Distance ain't cruelty, it's protection. And respect, it starts when you stop being so damn available to the wrong people. Let them feel your absence. Let them sit in the mess they made without you cleaning it up. Let them face the version of life that doesn't include your kindness, cushioning every blow. Because the longer you stay, the longer they believe they can treat you like this and still sleep at night. And you keep tossing and turning, replaying every word, every moment, trying to figure out what you did wrong. Here's the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. You just gave to the wrong people, that's all. And now, you take it back. Every piece of yourself they left shattered. Every part they made you hate. You take it back. Not for revenge, for survival. And don't wait for the right time. Don't wait for a breakdown. Don't wait for them to hurt you one last time. Do it now, because the sooner you walk, the sooner you heal. And healing, it ain't pretty. It's not all candles and soft music. Sometimes it's cutting people off mid-sentence. Sometimes it's deleting the number, blocking the profile, walking past them like a ghost. Sometimes it's crying so hard you can't breathe, but still not answering when they call. That's healing. That's power. That's what respect looks like. The one you give yourself when nobody else will. You ever watch someone destroy you slowly, and they don't even blink? That's the kind of world we live in, where people will watch you fall apart and act like they never held the hammer. You gave them every chance. You explained yourself 1,000 different ways, hoping they'd get it. You thought if you showed them your scars, they'd finally stop cutting. But they didn't. Because the more you bled for them, the less they respected the blood. That's how people are. They don't see the pain until it becomes silence. And even then, some still act blind. But you saw it all. You knew better. And still, you stayed. And now, look at you, exhausted, broken, waking up every day trying to convince yourself that maybe this time will be different. But deep down, you know it won't, because nothing changes when nothing changes. You want different results from the same disrespectful people doing the same disrespectful things, while you keep pretending that your heart's too kind to walk away. You wear loyalty like it's armor, but it's been your prison. You call it love, but it's survival. You call it forgiveness, but it's fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being chosen, fear of realizing that maybe, just maybe, all you ever did was love people who never deserved a seat at your table. Let me tell you something brutal, but necessary. You'll never be enough for people who don't even know what enough looks like. You could give them the world on a silver platter, and they'll still ask, why it wasn't gold. You could sacrifice everything. Your time, your peace, your sanity, and they'll still look at you like you didn't do enough. That's because some people aren't built to love. They're built to take. They feed off people like you, people who care too much, people who believe too hard, people who forgive too fast. They see you as a resource, not a person, a place to dump their guilt, not a soul to protect. And the longer you let them, the more they drain you. But here's what they don't expect. The day you go quiet, the day you stop explaining, the day you stop answering texts and start reclaiming your dignity, that's when they panic. Not because they love you, not because they care, but because they lost access to something they thought they'd always have. You were their comfort, their backup plan, their emotional crutch, and now you're gone. You became the ghost they created. You disappeared into the silence they ignored. And let me tell you, that silence will scream in their ears, louder than any word you ever said. That's the kind of revenge the righteous deliver. Not loud, not messy, just gone. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but I still care. Of course you do. You're human. You're built to feel, built to hope. But caring doesn't mean staying. It doesn't mean sacrificing yourself just to keep people who never learned how to stay. You can care and still walk away. You can love and still say goodbye. You can grieve the loss of what you thought it was, and still protect your future from what it really is. That's not weakness. That's growth. That's maturity. That's choosing you after years of choosing everyone else. And don't let anyone guilt trip you for finally choosing peace. They'll call you cold. They'll say you changed. They'll try to spin the story to make you look like the villain. Let them. Because the truth is, people will always create a villain out of the person who stopped letting them get away with murder. They'll rewrite history to paint themselves innocent and you bitter. But you don't owe them the truth. You don't owe them a second chance. You don't owe them a seat back at your table. You just owe yourself this one thing: never again. Never again will you beg to be heard. Never again will you shrink to make someone comfortable. Never again will you explain your pain to people who mock it. Never again will you pour into people who only show up with empty cups and arrogant hands. You're done. Not because you stopped loving, but because you started respecting yourself. You started listening to that little voice you buried under years of heartbreak. The one that says, I deserve more than this. And it's right. You do. But first, you gotta believe it. You gotta fight for it. You gotta walk alone if that's what it takes. Because alone and respected is better than surrounded and used.